This is an end of tenure report that documents the developmental strides of Nimasa as a government agency under Dr. Bashir Jamoh Led Administration from March 2020 to March 2024. The agency was created in 2006 from the merger of the National Maritime Authority (NMA) and Joint Maritime Labour Industrial Council (JOMALIC), both former parastatals of the Federal Ministry of Transport. It became a full-fledged government agency on the 1st of August 2006, rendering a diverse range of services in the maritime domain. The obligation of regulating the maritime industry in Nigeria rests on the agency through relevant National Assembly acts, which includes the Nigeria Maritime Administration and Safety Agency Act 2007, the Merchant Shipping Act 2007, Coastal and Inland Shipping Cabotage Act 2003, the Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Offences (SPOMO) Act, signed into law by former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, in June 2019. Nimasa is the apex maritime regulator in Nigeria, saddled with the responsibility of domesticating international conventions set by the International Maritime Organization (IMO), including the Safety of Life at Sea Convention (SOLAS), amongst others. SOLAS' main objective is to specify minimum standards for the construction, equipping, and operation of ships compatible with their safety.
In the year 2020, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari appointed Bashir Jamoh to lead an executive management of the agency. The team quickly set to work by first looking at the acts establishing the agency from where it derives its mandate. 4 essential areas derived from the agency's mandate summarizes its core functions. They are regulations, capacity building, enforcement, and contribution to the national economy. Consideration of these broad areas makes for laying down the developmental strides of Nimasa within the period of the review. Nimasa's mandate, gotten from the act establishing the agency, further gave rise to what is today known as Nimasa's Performance Tripod, 3S. This has become the compass of Nimasa's executive management. They are maritime safety, maritime security, and shipping development. Dr. Bashir Jamoh, Director General of Nimasa, expatiates on how his team began the journey on March 2020, departing from the old ways of administration to a totally new, efficient administration with the 3S as its template.
What we did was to look at, first of all, the mandate. The mandate of the agency is derived from the Nimasa Act, and the key issues that has to do with, so to say, if we call it agenda for the international maritime organizations and for any maritime administration, has to do with maritime safety, maritime security, marine environment management. And then there are some subsidiary other things like legal issues. So the international maritime organizations like Maritime Safety Committee, every year they will sit down, deliberate on the issue of maritime security or maritime safety issues. They will now discuss, deliberate, bring changes that will be in conformity with today's world and international practice.
Maritime Safety Committee, Maritime Environment Committee, Trade Facilitation Committee, Legal Committee, Maritime Security Committee all work simultaneously for a robust delivery of Nimasa's mandate. For clarity, we shall bring to you the milestones achieved by Nimasa in the period under review with respect to the agency's regulations, capacity building, enforcement, and contribution to national economy.
The Nigeria Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa, its vision is to be the leading maritime administration in Africa, advancing Nigeria's global maritime goals with a mission that seeks to achieve sustained safety, secure shipping, cleaner oceans, and enhance maritime capacity in line with the best global practices towards Nigeria's economic development.
Maritime Safety Administration, Maritime Labour Regulation, Maritime Pollution Prevention and Control, Search and Rescue, Cabotage Enforcement, Shipping Development and Ship Registration, Training and Certification of Seafarers, and Maritime Capacity Development using modern tools that guarantee efficiency and effectiveness are some of Nimasa's functions. In a chat with the Director General of Nimasa, Dr. Bashir Jamoh, we started by asking him what he did on assumption of office as CEO.
The interesting things about Nimasa and what many of us didn't know. Nimasa is an international organization, and an international organization in the sense that we have global standard of operation. So whether I like it or not, I must play my card within the ambit of the international best practices and the international standard in line with the International Maritime Organization's guidelines. Like the normal traditions of leaders, some will come with 4-point agenda, 5-point agenda, 3-point agenda, 8-point agenda. So, and that should be the priority. There are so many other things can pop apart from that. My own thinking and perception at that time, having stayed in the agency for so many years, is for me to ensure that I have put Nimasa on the right track in accordance with the International Maritime Organization's best practices and standard.
Still on the agency's regulatory mandate, the immediate past Executive Director, Maritime Labour and Cabotage Services, Mr. Victor Ochi, a member of the think tank, speaks on the collective efforts made by the management and staff in line with Dr. Jamoh's vision and mandate of the agency.
As a regulator, there are things that you must do so you don't violate the laws. When you violate the laws, there are penalties that go with it. Once the penalties are there, then you are sure that everybody will keep in line. If they keep in line, it means that it's better for our economy because things are moving efficiently. Have we done well? Yes, we have. I can tell you, I don't want to go judging by the amount of money collected, but if you go by that, the contracts performed, the 2% paid on the local contracts performed on our waters, coastal waters, is quite huge, and they run into millions of dollars. Have we been able to recover all? No, we haven't, because of course the cost of recovery is also huge on us, because Nimasa is saddled with that mandate to go recover the funds. Now, you find some irresponsible organizations who deduct these monies at source and don't remit to Nimasa as at when due.
On March 11, 2020, the World Health Organization (WHO) declared the COVID-19 virus a pandemic. What started out as a few hundred cases spread like wildfire, resetting the world to adopt a new normal. The reality of the virus painted a morbid picture of the apocalypse in movies. Schools closed down, businesses were shut. The maritime domain was equally badly hit. At the time, Dr. Jamoh was appointed the Director General of Nimasa.
There is no white, there is no black, there is no poor, there is no rich.
He had a handsful to deal with at the time. COVID would pose a major challenge for the agency and the country. One would ask, how did the agency deal with the pandemic?
This administration particularly paid very serious attention to the welfare of dock workers, because right after COVID, some dock workers who were affected by it, we ensured that you needed to create an avenue, a platform for them to be, first, their health, their safety was very important to us. And as such, we needed to create that avenue for them to be protected. Within the sphere of the maritime domain, the seafarers and dock workers are protected species. In other words, there are laws which are in place that gives them special protection from being, you can't intimidate them. You need to also create safe working places for them and healthy working places for them. And not just this administration, it goes as far as the United Nations. IMO insists that they must be given their right of place in the maritime domain.
The race to the finish line conjured up by COVID became clear for the agency as it took drastic steps to counter the pandemic in its wake. Notices by Nimasa were issued during the COVID-19 pandemic that all maritime stakeholders shall develop risk assessments and safety intervention guidelines for their personnel and operations on the areas of vulnerabilities of their maritime operations that can be affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, including but not limited to offshore operations such as crew and personnel changes, visits from onshore and other locations for provision of supplies, maintenance and repairs. That only international marine vessels which had planned and informed of their call into a Nigerian port not later than 1st of February 2020 may be allowed to call on such ports. That no sick passenger or crew shall be allowed to board any ship by the shipping agents or master of vessel. That the marine vessels are required to take these special measures to prevent COVID-19 patients from boarding vessels, which include but not limited to the following: any cruise guests who have traveled through China, Hong Kong, Iran, South Korea, and Italy, and other affected countries as defined by the World Health Organization in its daily report. Mandatory screening shall be performed on persons with influenza-like illnesses in boarding ports terminals. All guests on board have to fill out self-declaration health forms at the check-in counter of the boarding ports. The guests' passports are verified for any stamps from COVID-19 affected countries. To all ship owners, shipping agents, operators, masters, seafarers, flag states, port states, recognized organizations, and the public. Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency remains committed to implementing its mandates during the coronavirus COVID-19 crisis and has determined the COVID-19 outbreak to be a pandemic, calling for immediate measures to keep the global shipping chain moving. All these were possible with the leadership prowess and closing of ranks in shipping, as the agency had to do more under a new management to contain the spread of the virus.
Corona pandemic is real. Make sure you wash your hand, make sure you stay at home and maintain hygienic lifestyle. Nigerians should support the federal government in a bid to curb this menace. Together we win this pandemic.
Prior to this administration, sea piracy has been a problem, a major headache. But we've been told that at the advent of the Bashir Jamoh administration, they have been able to reduce piracy to nothing, 0%.
In close cooperation, coordination, collaboration, and communication amongst players, especially the Nigerian Navy, piracy has been brought to zero. Seen as a critical component of Nimasa's regulatory functions, maritime security is at the heart of the agency's regulation, seen as a means to ensure safety of ships coming into Nigeria's maritime domain for trade. In an interview with the former Minister of Transportation, Mr. Muazu Jaji Sambo, he started by telling us how the administration of Dr. Bashir Jamoh, with all the ministerial supports needed, brought insecurity and indeed the hydra-headed issue of piracy to a halt.
Piracy, zero. And the communication gadgets are part of the Deep Blue project. Without communication, what can you achieve? No matter the level of patrol. When people are at sea, some people are on base, onshore. So there is need for communication between those onshore and those offshore. And like I told you, and I humbly request you to cross-check, there has been zero piracy in the Gulf of Guinea, bordering Nigeria's maritime domain, since 2021. We're talking about 2 years plus. So ships feel happy coming to Nigeria.
He is not the only one to commend the efforts of Dr. Jamoh. Other top executives of the agency attest to the work put in that saw the figures plunged steadily. A comparative chart shows that in the year 2020, cases of piracy in Nigeria's waters compared to the entire Gulf of Guinea dropped from 44 to 35 cases, and in 2021, 27 to 6 cases in Nigeria as compared to the Gulf of Guinea. In 2022, Nigeria dropped further from 6 to 0 piracy cases. Nigeria has maintained that achievement to the present day, to the delight of the Director General. Indeed, his work is paying off.
When you deal with the maritime security, you look at other things that has to do with the security. The issue of armed robbery at sea, the issue of piracy, the issue of the issue of platforms that can deal with the issue or with the maritime insecurity itself, the issue of bunkering, the issue of oil theft, the issue of narcotics, the issue of human trafficking, the issue of drugs trafficking. and so many other things. All this form under security. So you cannot treat them in isolation. The shared Gulf of Guinea, it's an umbrella of international countries like France, US, Japan, Denmark, France. They all come together as an umbrella. So everybody will now go on to them. They were helping us because the Gulf of Guinea waters is very huge. So cannot be policed by one country. So they now came in and they were giving a helping hand. So the strategic way we followed in addressing the issue of this maritime insecurity, combined with the 100% cooperation and commitment from the Nigerian Navy, helped in a great deal contain the issue of insecurity in the Gulf of Guinea.
The vessel involved in the alleged illegal bunkering off the coast of Ondo State. We have 17 suspects here, all Nigerians, and we have an idea of who owns the ship and where he is based.
The world they are surprised within short period of time we were able to contain the issue of maritime insecurity that used to be number one in terms of insecurity in the world. Now is becoming number one in terms of secured place in the world. It has to do with the what I call rice and beans approach. Rice is white. You find Nigerian Navy in white. Beans, civilians, you find them in colorful dress, working together. Now, if you go to what we call command, control, computer, communication, intelligence system, we have CPY. You find Nigerian Navy, you find Nigerian Army, you find Nigerian Air Force, Nigerian Police, Civil Defense, this NDLE, and TSS, Nimasa. They are working 24 hours together. This is a very unique thing, that one of the things that I think must have been one of the most successful operations that we have. And this happened because of what we call the Deep Blue Project. The Deep Blue Project operations bring these people together. Everybody becomes under umbrella. We brought a platforms. These platforms, we have air, we have sea, and we have land. All operating, and the operators, they are together. So these are the most successful operations ever you can find in the world. So that is why from time to time, those who are concerned with the security, they will be inviting us to tell us more about the Deep Blue Project. The Deep Blue Project may not be the only factor that brought about, but it contributed in a great deal in ensuring the maritime security.
To support a massive Deep Blue project and harness its potentials, Nimasa, in addition to the C4I base, is training personnel to man various segments of the maritime domain with particular interest to securing the Deep Blue project, another innovation of the Dr. Bashir Jamoh Led Administration. C4I is able to detect criminality being perpetrated on Nigeria's waters and, by extension, the Gulf of Guinea. Nimasa has also purchased 7 patrol boats. They are MV Sambo, MV Bibisola Saraki, MV Buhari, MV Amechi, MV Jamoh. 2 new ones purchased by the agency, as seen here, are yet to be named.
This act, gives the administration a legal seat to be able to address the issue of piracy and armed robbery within Nigerian waters firmly. And that's important because what we had before them was we had bodies of law laws here and there in various places that could not effectively address these issues of prosecution of these pirates, even when they are apprehended.
For instance, we in Nimasa, there are administrative charges for maritime offenders. These charges, when you look at the Nimasa Act of 2003, it might be a vessel committing an offense and all that. Back then, you know what the dollar was 20 years ago, and we're saying that the offense attracts like a penalty from 100,000 naira to 1 million. We said that in 2003, and in 2023, that is still what obtains.
There were 12 pirates apprehended, and I think they were effectively prosecuted. About 10 of them effectively prosecuted in 2021 and sentenced to, I think, 48 years imprisonment in total, which, sent a message to the industry that, look, not only in Nigeria, but within the Gulf of Guinea, that Nigeria has an effective tool now of making pirates pay.
Equipment procured by Nimasa for the Deep Blue project employs the latest technologies. An unmanned aerial vehicle is able to go several hundreds of miles and suspend 10 hours in mid-air gathering data. Security supports the Deep Blue project with special mission vessels, SMVs, procured by Nimasa. They are the DB Lagos and DB Abuja. They reign supreme on Nigeria's waters and the Gulf of Guinea. The agency also procured the fast interceptor boats for hot chase and interception. It also procured air and sea assets dedicated to the Deep Blue project. Maritime and indeed shipping business comes with a huge responsibility. Scale economies play out at various levels of interdependence. They all need to have a sense of safety on and offshore. Marine Accident Investigation Unit of Nimasa is headed by Captain Abayomi Koka, who brings to the fore the many achievements brought by the Dr. Bashir Jamoh Led Administration in ensuring that the environment is safe for trade.
Last year alone, 14 reports were uploaded on the GSS. That is more than any African nation. And that was only possible due to the dedication of the kind of staff we have here and the unbelievable support we get from the executive management led by Dr. Bashir Jamoh.
A combination of safety, elimination of piracy, and clear certification in line with laid down Nimasa promulgated rules and regulations in the maritime sector has aided another regulatory component, the cabotage operations. Nimasa, through the cabotage regime in Nigeria, lays emphasis on protecting indigenous shipping companies by giving them rights of first refusal compared to foreign vessels. It ensures the entire management of Nigeria flag carriers are provided with the necessary resources to thrive.
Cabotage basically is to protect the jobs of local businesses from the invasion of foreign nationals who take advantage of it, either by now subjecting or subjugating nationals to the second place where they can now opportunistically first row. So you protect those jobs first for nationals before you allow foreign individuals to come play in that space. And then we did not have within the laws of the federal government laws that punishes piracy, sea piracy, as an offense.
The Bashir Jamoh administration has really tried to provide capacity in terms of enforcement for Nimasa. He has refurbished some of our broken down vessels. He has also acquired some new vessels. On that, I would say kudos to Bashir Jamoh.
Serving as a monitor to ensure compliance with relevant codes and conventions in the performance of its port and flag state duties is another of Nimasa's core mandates. Here, ship owners and companies of Nigerian registered ships are to maintain and operate their ship according to certain requirements. The obligations of these companies and ship owners are contained in the Nimasa Act, Merchant Shipping Act, Prevention of Pollution of the Sea Act, International Safety Management ISM Code, International Ship and Port Facility Security ISPS Code, relevant shipping circulars promulgated by Nimasa.
You can penalize a vessel for as that affects safety of the vessel within your territorial waters. From the point of view of the technical aspect of the ship itself, qualifications and certificates held by crew that are manning the vessel.
This administration has proven to be another turning point in the activities of the Maritime Administration, in the sense that there has been increase in the number of vessels that are registered, and also there has been significant improvement in the productivity and also the tonnage. Apart from the number of vessels, we also have increase in the tonnage of these vessels, because the Nigerian Ship Registration, essentially, our duty is to ensure that vessels operating within Nigeria are properly registered, as it is provided for in the Merchant Shipping Act and the United Nations Convention for Law of the Sea, because that was what was domesticated in the Merchant Shipping Act. And when a vessel is doing and carrying out cabotage operations, you must also be registered with in Nigeria. So, and of course, the most recent is the automation of the Nigerian Ship Registration Office, which is ongoing, which ensures that we are trying to ensure that we go paperless and the operations are more faster.
The end of tenure report for the period March 2020 to March 2024 has received commendations from the International Maritime Organization, IMO, recognizing the efforts of Dr. Bashir Jamoh, who placed Nigeria's shipping and maritime operations as best in the Gulf of Guinea.
He has done more for the reputation of Nigeria in the maritime world than any in a very long period. So I consider him a friend. IMO considers Nimasa a partner, a credible, important, professional partner, thanks to the efforts of all of the people of Nimasa and, of course, Dr. Jamoh.
Volume 2 of the End of Tenure report for Nimasa shall focus on capacity building, another of the agency's core functions.